80%. That is the number that dropped yesterday and that nobody in football wants to look at directly. 80% of hotel owners across the 11 American World Cup host cities, the people who have been waiting years for this tournament, who blocked rooms, raised rates, turned away regular customers to keep inventory available, have described the 2026 FIFA World Cup as a non-event. Not underwhelming, not below expectations, a non-event. These are hoteliers in Dallas, in Los Angeles, in Atlanta, in the city hosting the World Cup final. People who positioned their entire businesses around what was supposed to be the single greatest influx of tourism in American sporting history, and 80% of them are now using the language of something that isn't really happening. And that survey landed on the same day that the President of the United States told a newspaper he wouldn't pay for a World Cup ticket either. Two things happened yesterday that individually would each be a significant story. Together, they describe something that sounds very much like a tournament in genuine crisis, 33 days before it opens. This is the full picture. Everything that has broken in the last 72 hours. Every angle, every number, every consequence. Let's go through it. Before we get into it, if you've been following football since before they put wheels on the suitcases, this channel is for you. Hit subscribe. It's free. It doesn't require a FIFA visa, a $15,000 bond, or a $1,000 ticket. Just one click. Go on. Done? Right. Let's get into it. Start with Trump, because that's where the week started and where it's going to end. On Thursday, May 8th, Donald Trump sat down with the New York Post. The interview covered several topics, and then the reporter asked about the World Cup, specifically about the ticket prices, and Trump said something that nobody in his administration, his task force, or his close friend Gianni Infantino was prepared for. "I did not know that number," Trump said, referring to the approximately $1,000 entry point for the United States group stage opener against Paraguay in Los Angeles. "I would certainly like to be there, but I wouldn't pay it either, to be honest with you." Sports Digest. The President of the United States at a World Cup in his own country, telling a newspaper he wouldn't pay for a ticket. Let's be precise about what makes this moment so significant, because it's easy to read that quote and think, well, Trump says a lot of things. What's different this time is the context in which it landed. 3 days earlier, on Tuesday, Infantino appeared at the Milken Institute Global Conference in Beverly Hills, one of the most expensive zip codes in the world, surrounded by billionaires, and defended the ticket prices. He said, "We have to look at the market. We are in the market in which entertainment is the most developed in the world, so we have to apply market rates." He claimed attending a U.S. college football game couldn't be done for under $300, a comparison that sports economists dismantled within hours. He then attempted a joke, saying he would personally bring a hot dog and a Coke to anyone who paid resale prices. A hot dog and a Coke. His answer to fans paying $2.3 million for 4 resale seats to the final. That was Tuesday. Thursday, the president publicly contradicted him. Infantino and Trump have cultivated an unusually close relationship, one visible enough that FIFA awarded Trump the inaugural FIFA Peace Prize at the 2026 World Cup draw in December 2025. That the two men are now publicly at odds over something as fundamental as who can actually afford to attend the tournament tells you something about how badly the pricing strategy has been handled. Now look at the numbers the president was reacting to, because they deserve to be stated plainly. When tickets first went on sale in late 2025, the cheapest category was $120. The final topped out at $7,875. Those were already the most expensive World Cup tickets in history. Then the dynamic pricing engine kept running. By April 2026, the maximum price for a final ticket had climbed to $11,990, nearly 7 times higher than the $1,550 maximum promised during the North American bid process. 4 resale seats to the final appeared on FIFA's own official marketplace at just under $2.3 million each. On Friday, the cheapest available ticket for USA versus Paraguay was $1,220, a Category 3 disabled fan ticket. The most expensive was $4,105 for a front-row Category 1 seat FIFA invented specifically for this tournament. Football Supporters Europe calculated that a fan attending every match from the group stage through the final faces a minimum outlay of $6,900, nearly 5 times the equivalent cost at the 2022 Qatar World Cup.
Qatar, the tournament held in the summer heat of the Middle East with alcohol restrictions and cultural complexities, 5 times cheaper than this one. And the market has responded. Resale prices for the USA opener have gone below face value. In World Cup history, that almost never happens for a host nation's opening match. The market is telling FIFA something it doesn't want to hear. Here's where the story gets even more layered, and this is the part that hasn't been widely reported together in one place. At the same time that Trump was telling the New York Post he wouldn't pay the prices, and the hotel survey was revealing that 80% of American hoteliers consider this tournament a non-event, FIFA's own senior executives were doing something extraordinary. They were internally debating whether to ask Trump for a full moratorium on ICE raids during the tournament.
Think about that sequence. The organization is simultaneously defending ticket prices that its own host nation's president says are too high, watching hotel demand collapse across 11 cities, and privately considering whether to beg the host government to pause immigration enforcement so international fans feel safe enough to attend. The Athletic reported that senior FIFA managers had approached Infantino with proposals designed to lessen the likelihood of immigration crackdowns at upcoming matches, including a request for a full moratorium on ICE raids across the United States during the World Cup. The executives framed this as a potential public relations win for the Trump administration. In other words, FIFA was preparing to tell Trump, pause the raids and we'll make it look good for you. That is not the posture of a tournament running smoothly. That is the posture of an organization trying to plug holes in a dam with its hands. And then the dam got another crack. This one at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, which is hosting 8 World Cup matches, more than any other American venue. Unite Here Local 11, which represents food service workers at SoFi, announced they will strike unless FIFA provides assurances that ICE agents will not be present at their workplace during the tournament. The union's co-president said directly, "The World Cup can't happen at SoFi if there's no food, no drinks. Those amenities are essential. Someone needs to hold them accountable. Who better than the workers who make the games possible?" A strike threat, 8 matches in Los Angeles, workers refusing to staff a tournament that FIFA says has unprecedented demand and that Trump says he wouldn't pay for. Welcome to the 2026 World Cup, 33 days from kickoff. Now, let's go back further, because Trump's relationship with this World Cup didn't start with the New York Post interview, it started with threats. And those threats tell you something important about how we got here. In September 2025, Trump threatened to move World Cup matches out of American cities he called unsafe, specifically naming Seattle and San Francisco. FIFA responded immediately and firmly, stating that only FIFA has the authority to determine where the World Cup will be played, not any national government, not even the United States. That was October 2025. FIFA drew a line. Then Trump threatened again, this time pointing at cities he called dominated by radical lefts following violent protests. FIFA held the same position. The matches stay where they are. FIFA decides, not the president. So here is the situation as it actually stands. The president of the host country has publicly threatened to move matches twice. FIFA has publicly told him he can't twice. The same president has now told a newspaper he wouldn't pay the prices his ally at FIFA set. And 80% of American hoteliers in the host cities are describing the tournament as a non-event a month before it begins. That is not a comfortable alliance. That is 2 organizations, FIFA and the Trump White House, that needed each other to make this work, discovering in public that they are not actually aligned on the things that matter most. This is a good moment to check in with you. If you've been watching for a while and you're still not subscribed, I have to ask, what are you waiting for? We cover every single one of these developments the moment they happen. The button is right there. It costs nothing, unlike a World Cup ticket. Subscribe. Now, let's talk about what this means on the ground, because the numbers tell one story. The human reality tells another one, and it's arguably more damaging. Real people made real decisions based on this tournament. Hoteliers who turned down regular bookings to hold rooms for World Cup fans. Restaurants that hired extra staff.
transport companies that bought extra vehicles, cities that redirected public funding. These are not abstract economic projections. These are business owners who looked at the World Cup projections, believed them, and made commitments that are now looking very difficult to justify. The American Hotel and Lodging Association survey released Monday found that nearly 80% of U.S. hoteliers in 11 host cities describe the tournament as a non-event due to low bookings. That survey is not projecting future problems. It is measuring the present reality, right now, in May, with the tournament opening in 33 days. And there is one more number from New Jersey that puts everything into perspective. The state is reportedly going to charge World Cup fans close to $150 for the 15-minute train ride from Penn Station in Manhattan to MetLife Stadium, a trip that normally costs $12.90. Not because New Jersey is trying to profit, because New Jersey is trying to cover the $48 million in hosting costs that FIFA contributed $0 toward. So the fan who scraped together $1,220 for the cheapest group stage ticket, then adds $150 for a 15-minute train ride, then pays $80 to $100 in transit surcharges, then buys stadium food from workers who are threatening to strike, that fan is the one being asked to make this tournament viable. Here is the bigger picture, and it needs to be said clearly. This World Cup is not going to be canceled. The matches will be played. The football will be exceptional. When June 11th arrives and the Azteca in Mexico City roars to life for the opening match, the atmosphere will be everything football promises it will be. The quarterfinals will deliver. The semifinals will deliver. The final on July 19th at MetLife will be watched by 5 billion people, and it will be extraordinary. But the story of how we got there, the 80% of hoteliers calling it a non-event, the president saying he wouldn't pay for a ticket, the workers threatening to strike, the ICE moratorium discussions happening in FIFA's private meetings, the resale prices going below face value for the host nation's opener, that story has already been written, and no result on the pitch undoes it. FIFA needed this World Cup to prove that expansion works, that 48 teams, 3 countries, and $13 billion in revenue produces the greatest celebration of football the world has ever seen. Right now, the greatest celebration of football the world has ever seen has 80% of its host countries' hoteliers calling it a non-event. That gap between the promise and the reality is what this tournament will be remembered for long after the trophy has been lifted. So tell me this, is there anything FIFA could do right now, in the next 33 days, that would actually fix this? A price reduction? An ICE moratorium announcement? Something else entirely? Drop your answer in the comments. You lot have been watching football long enough to have an opinion worth hearing. And if this channel is where you come when you want the real picture behind the headline, subscribe. Share this video with someone who still thinks this World Cup is going to run like clockwork, and come back for the next one. We'll be here every step of the way to July 19th. This story is still developing. And as always, football never stays quiet for long. See you in the next one.